Okay, great. Okay, so guys, this would be a short one. This is about sharing Vertica with both COSO and OBA, just to keep everyone on the same page on where we are with it and what's possible today. So for those who don't know me, I'm Eli from the Technical Success Team. I'm working mainly on OBA. And I would like to start from a slide that Harold already showed you, at least a similar one. Basically, this shows two things, what we have today with OBA 305 and what's planned for the next version. So what we have today with OBA 305, this is on the left side, is a case where we have no shared Vertica at all. That means that all the data that is kept by OBA is saved in one Vertica cluster, and everything from COSO is saved in a different Vertica cluster. And if you want to collect metrics, for example, then you need to collect actually separately to COSO and to OBA. And this way you have pretty much collect twice, store twice. So this is what we have today currently. Next, on the next version, on OBA 2021-05, it's planned to be changed. And by the way, this is future, so we're not committing to it, and we're not saying it's still being developed right now, but that's the roadmap, that's the direction. So the plan here is that we'll use a single Vertica cluster. Everything would be saved in one database. The metrics will be collected only once because everything will be saved by the COSO part from the metric perspective. OBA collectors would still be used to collect log files, to collect log messages, and put them also in the same database. Now, OBA servers, application server collectors will still be standalone, and therefore you can use them separately, but you can also use COSO and use actually from the same UI of OBM, also drill down to panes that will show you data from OBA. So this would be more properly collect once, store once. Now, since you see the difference between what we have today and what will be in the future, let's talk about what's possible to do still today. Now, when I say possible, I'm not saying supported. Okay, what I'm about to suggest here is something that you can do, but for POCs or for testing, not for production. This is just for, in the meantime, until we'll have the next version ready, if you want to run a POC and show what it looks like. Basically, the idea is to use the same shared Vertica, but with two databases on the same Vertica cluster. As you can see here, we have the ITOMDB. The same database, but two different schemas. So we have the OPSA default schema, which would still be used, and the regular COSO schemas, including the one that contains most of the information, MF shared provider default. So now that we have two schemas, we will still need to collect twice, and we still need to store twice, but at least we're using on the same Vertica cluster, so you don't need to duplicate your hardware. That's basically the idea. That's what's planned for right now if you want to run a POC for this. Still, you would of course need to use OBA separately since it's standalone, and COSO would be containerized. But in any case, this is how it would look like. So just a few notes about this. When you do this, what you need to pay attention to. First of all, it's not officially supported, as I've said, and but it's planned to be. And so far, we've tried it only for in R&D tests, and also we've tried it at POCs, and it worked. It's not yet supported because of performance issues. So this would explain to you also what you need to pay attention to, because even if this works, you still cannot ingest a lot of data into the system. If you try to collect a lot of data, you will probably have problems because one of the systems, either OBA or COSO, most likely OBA, would hog all the resources of Vertica and might cause problems in the other one, or even in both of them. So you need to pay attention to performance and to data volume, not to use too much. Next, you need to pay attention to using the COSO database. This is at least how it was tested. So when you install OBA, just use the same database that was defined for COSO. The default one is ITOMDB. And there, OBA would create its own schema. Now, when it creates its own schema, the default name is OPSA default. You can, if you want, create additional ones. For example, if you use the multi-tenancy within OBA, then you need more than one schema because it's a schema per tenant. But you must not use the same name for both. You cannot use the same schema for both. And also, you need to pay attention that OBA searches or scans the schemas that are in the database to see if there are other tenants there to use. So you can also not define a new tenant in OBA that already has a similar name configured in the schemas of COSO. The last thing you need to pay attention to is security. Basically, this was tested without TLS. So we suggest not to configure to use TLS. If you do decide to use it, then you have to use server mode. Basically, server mode means that only the server checks the certificates and not the certificates of the clients, and not the clients check the certificates of the server, like in mutual mode, because mutual mode is not supported in OBA. And also, again, this was only tested with plain connections, so we suggest not to use a secure one. Both OBA and COSO require the DB-admin user access, so pay attention to this as well, because OBA also requires this access post-install. That's it. That's all I have for the notes that you need to pay attention to. Again, this is the purpose. This is what you can do for now, for POCs, for testing. Just let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, yes, please, Eli. Just about the future, the roadmap.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand the purpose here. So, of course, OBA has its own collectors and COSO has its own collectors, and they're going to be in one schema. Are they going to be cross-using of data? Like, for example, OBA can use COSO data, and COSO can use some of the OBA data. Is that the purpose?
Yes, that's the purpose. We are planning on. The plan is that we remove the metric collection from OBA. OBA will not need to collect metrics. Instead, we will use the COSO way to collect metrics. And then OBA accesses the metric data from COSO and does the analysis on top of it, all the anomaly detection, everything. We will still need to use the OBA collectors for log collection, or if you will need custom metric collection that is not supported by COSO.
I see. Okay. So that way we are kind of course, saving up resources and being more consistent with one Vertica. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Eli, you said custom metric collection will be there on the new, I mean, next release. Is it still there, or because it's not shown in the diagram?
You mean from the OBA side?
Yeah, from the OBA side.
Then yes, it would still be there. It's not something that we will publish. It's not something that we will encourage, because we would like people only to use the COSO way to collect metrics. But technically, yeah, it would still be there. It's still possible.
But I think it cannot be used by the COSO.
Right, because if you collect it via the OBA, then it will be saved in a format for OBA. So I'm not sure really that I don't think that COSO would be able to use it.
I mean, we cannot use on the OBM dashboard like the performance dashboard.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
thanks.
not that. It is something that, again, technically it would be possible. You will need to create some kind of adapters for it. For example, if you want to show BVD data on top of OBA, BVD UI on top of OBA data, then you need to create some kind of a BVD adapter to read the data, and then it's possible. But it's not part of this release, so not yet.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry for that. If the question is about reading OBA data from BVD, if they are in the same vertica, you can read it. But by default, the tables are when you select asterisk from table, that table is searched only on COSO schemas, but you can extend this. Okay, and the idea here with that integration is we can use OBA capabilities on COSO data, not the opposite way. Okay, so the matrix that were collected by COSO options, we can display it in OBA. And I think if that at the end realized as OBA is working, we have the options like dashboarding inside OBA. It will be much better than even BVD. The capabilities of OBA interface is far better than BVD in displaying things.
But obviously, Mahmoud, these OBA new dashboards to display COSO data, it will be basically published by us. It's not something like BVD. We can design it and stuff like that, right? It's something that published occasionally.
You can create dashboards inside the OBA.
Okay.
And it uses a certain query language at the back end, which is far better than BVD.
Oh.
It's much easier than BVD because it's a like high-level query language and it's analytical query language. It's very nice. We don't have similar capability in BVD, so if that is there, it will be much better.
The plan is to use UI mashup so we can see OBA panes within the same UI as OBA.
Yeah, and it's faster and it's easier to edit, and we have many colleagues that are already expert in that without learning SQL or taking SQL courses. So hopefully that will be kept. I didn't see a mock-up on what will be kept and what will be not, what will not in OBA in the new version, but I think it will be there. So we will have much better option to display the metric data.
I see.
Eli can confirm. He's a godfather for that. So for sure he have seen something.
Yeah, I can confirm on OBA side. On BVD, I'm not an expert.
But I mean the latest, or let's say the coming version, will have the same interface of OBA where we can create pans and we can modify them, and same like before, right?
Yes, in general, you will be able to edit in OBA, create, like you said, your own dashboards, and then you can, using UI mashup, you can make sure that the same panes also, you can see them from the same UI as OBM.
Yeah, and the widgets we have in OBA are very nice compared to BVD. So yeah, I think in the future I will move to OBA dashboards.
So 1 second here, it's because because we always say that BVD is the new future for reporting for Micro Focus, but now I see that we can even use OBA as our reporting tool, right?
No, not reporting. OBA is used for analytical use cases. So if you want to analyze things, you want a quick snapshot on things, and it itself is considered, it has dashboards, but for analytics, we call it this way. Same like OPM has dashboards for operational side. So it's a different use cases, but and it has more capabilities, we can say that.
Okay.
Okay. Anything
That's
else before? Eli, you want to summarize?
No, I think we've said all that needs to be
Okay.
done.
So don't forget that it's not for production yet. This is very important to understand. Thank you very much, Eli. And let's summarize the week, and we will still